presentation, and frankly, one that makes me extremely proud. I, for one, when I describe what makes me most proud of living in Houston and being here at MD Anderson is the culture. I think we do have a very, very great culture to be proud of. Are we perfect? No. I, for one, am extremely proud of our mayor and that I live in a city that actually can elect an individual based on the person's capabilities. And this, to me, is something to celebrate. And it's one of the first 5 sentences out of my mouth when I describe Houston to people around the country. So that's my background. You know, I was born and raised in a household that taught me some very basic principles. One is that in order to get respect, you have to give it, and in order to understand, you have to first be understood. You first have to understand. And so, for me, a dialogue about any issue really begins with an exchange, an open exchange of information, so that people can be educated. To me, this is fundamental to everything else. We look at where this country was 50 years ago, even in some parts of this country today, with respect to individuals of color or folks that didn't speak English well and had an accent. The Irish, 100 years ago, and then other groups, cultural groups, ethnic groups, and so on. I myself, came from a very poor background. Portuguese immigrants. My dad was an illegal immigrant to come here to the United States, almost died on the way, and lived the American dream and became a U.S. citizen. He was extremely proud of this country, and so that's the kind of background that I have. And you can imagine in that kind of background, growing up in fairly squalid conditions in the neighborhoods of the Bronx, that I too experienced things that were not so great. So those kinds of things influence you over life, and they ground you in certain ways. And so I just thought it would be important for this particular group to understand that I'm not just some administrator, but somebody who's a human being who has feelings and experiences that I think shape who we are over life. I also am very proud of the way that MD Anderson treats its employees. The CEO gold standard that we have with respect to how we treat our employees and providing them with benefits and health benefits and things of that nature is extremely important. You mentioned a number of initiatives and critical unmet needs and so on. Some of them I would have to look into more carefully. It is, I have to say, this job that I have is a full body workout. And it's basically 24/7, so I haven't gotten into the fine details to be able to give you an informed decision about anything. But a lot of the things that you did mention are things that need to be implemented. I don't think there's any need for debate. Anything that we can do to state that we stand for particular principles, let's get past that discussion. I just need to understand how best to do that and in what context, the website, employee introduction, management training, those are the sorts of things we need to think about. We also, I think it's very important when we think about any benefit or any activity, as you're striving to do, is that what we do for one, we must do for all. And in fact, that's part of the challenge with us here today, and that is that we're shackled to a certain extent by macro forces, by external forces that dictate the kinds of things that we're able to do versus not do. But for things that relate to fear, relate to education, relate to outreach, relate to institutional statements, education, things relating to the survey, I think we have to make good decisions. There are a lot of times impressions that people have, and then when you have data, it influences things in a different direction. And I myself learned a lot from the big survey. We actually take that very seriously. We use that information, and it actually leads to changes in the institution. Each one of the surveys has, and moving in the right direction. So I think that this is extremely important. for us. To me, another important aspect is the preventive health aspect. So many of you know that we're embarked on this cancer moonshot program. An extremely important part of that relates to prevention and early detection. And to the extent that there are specific needs in any one group, we have to make sure that those groups are well cared for, and that into any strategic initiative from a health standpoint that will shape the health of the nation, because that's our aspirations with these moonshots, is to live up to our mission of eradicating cancer around the world. And a very important part of that is prevention, screening, and things of that nature. So it's critically important that we make sure that we're viewing those initiatives, scientific and otherwise, and policy-wise for the nation, through the lens of the needs of all. And this is very important. So anything that this group can teach me about with respect to the special needs, I stand ready to incorporate that into this historic initiative that this great institution is going to embark on. The one thing that caught my eye was the benefits part, and because I know what the issues are relative to the state and what we can and can't do, but certainly looking at what Austin does and what we do is important. And again, one of the things that we have to be careful of as an institution is making sure that whatever benefit we provide for one, we provide for many. And things, we've always entered into debates, even several times since I've been here, relating to child care and so on. That could have a huge impact on the institution, and it may not actually help the institution if we do something that ends up being tremendously burdensome for the institution, and we end up having to lay off 300 people. Those are the kinds of big picture, things that things don't happen necessarily in isolation. So we have to make sure that we do things that are benefit to all, and that we make this the best place on the planet to work. We make it an environment in which we can help each other achieve both personal growth as well as serve the mission of the institution, which is to really do something quite important. One of the things that's really special about MD Anderson is it actually is in a position to do something about cancer. It has that capacity, and that's why I was inspired to come here and to have the privilege and honor of leading you. So those are just some general comments. I'd be happy to take any questions, and anything that I can't answer we'll follow up on. But one thing from the get-go, providing some way that we can frame some of these educational issues, the labeling issues, that we stand for respect, is something that I'd be very, very welcome to receive from you, so that we get it right. So I want to thank you all for helping this institution really be what it is, which is a place of tremendous professional and personal fulfillment. The last comment that I'll make is that I've met many of you in this room. I've probably met at least 10,000 people here at MD Anderson. I've really been involved in working at all levels of the organization to meet many of you and really get to know you. And these kinds of forums are other forums that allow me to interact with the community. But one of the things that really has impressed me about MD Anderson is the esprit de corps. People really love this institution. They're proud to be part of the institution, and frankly, it's reflected in the decades-long tenure of many people that are here. And this is important because there are tremendous macro forces that are operating in healthcare. The courts have just decided on the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. And you think about what's going on with managed care, you think about contracting NIH pay lines, so on and so forth. These are really tremendously powerful headwinds that are facing the institution. I think that we're extremely well positioned to weather the storm going forward. I believe that we are the healthiest academic medical center in the United States. and our size, our singular focus, our passion for doing a good job is going to allow us to be in a much better position than many other institutions that are going to get crushed circa 2014 and beyond. It's just the economics are very scary. So I just wanted to leave you with the thought that what will make us do well in the future is that we do the best possible job that we can do, that we do so arm in arm, and for that to happen, it's going to require fundamental respect of each other. Thank you very much.